So I read The Coddling of the American Mind by Jonathan Haidt and Greg Lukianoff. And that latter guy, I'd actually never heard of him before, but he is apparently the CEO and president of FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education, I believe is what that stands for. But it's basically a big free speech lawyer organization that goes around to make sure in a legal manner that universities are protecting free speech. So you probably heard of that organization if you haven't heard of him. They're fantastic. Now, Jonathan Haidt, I've been meaning to read his stuff for years. I've heard great things about him, and I was not disappointed at all by this book. It's a fantastic book. And the interesting thing is, as I read it, I read through the first section. It was great. It talks about it's the more psychological view of the great untruths of society, things that people believe, and they wouldn't even directly say they believe those things, but deep down they know that they actually do. The idea of what doesn't kill you makes you weaker, that that we need to protect people from the dangers out there, and it's no, you need to incrementally expose people to some pretty bad realities so that they can overcome it, things like that. And that part of the book was probably my favorite part, to be honest, the first section. And the second section deals more with it talks more about the different things that are happening on college campuses. Now, this is pretty much old news. A lot of the stuff he goes through, we've known about before. It's stuff that people have talked about and beaten to death when it comes to the news cycle. About the one was Brett Weinstein on Evergreen College, and the Halloween costume thing on I forget which university that was. But that stuff, we've all heard this is all old news. So I'm not putting down the book. I'm not putting down the book in that respect. But what I find interesting is they took old news and they looked at it from a very important angle that I realized was never actually really approached, or at least I've never really heard before. It's something that I kind of wanted to see here, and I didn't even know this is what they were going to touch on when I read the book. The idea of, instead of just people complaining oh my god, college students these days are so triggered by anything. Oh my god, this stuff. Oh my god, just these dang college students. That's all it was really much just complaining, honestly. Whereas now, he takes a more psychological approach of why is this happening? What is the psychology behind it? What is it with parenting that is causing this? What is it with this generation that makes everyone so easily offended? And really goes into it and then suggests it provides a way of fixing that. A way of, this is how we go about raising our children and things like that to make things different. And I really appreciate it. It was a very constructive outlook. And last thing, he's definitely more left-wing than me. I would say I'm right-wing, and for that reason I'm kind of biased towards the right, even though I'm not a fan of the alt-right at all. I'm at least, I guess, supposedly slightly biased towards them in that I don't think they're near as big a threat as the far left at the moment, whereas he tends to take a more equal approach, a more approach of they're both equally bad. And I thought that was at least a nice change of pace from what I normally read. I thought that was a nice, okay, taking the time to really see his perspective. And I thought that even though I disagreed with that, with his analysis in some respects, I at least appreciated the different look, and I thought it was well argued at that. So overall, I did enjoy the book. I highly recommend it. Now, it does make me want to read more Jonathan Haidt, which I probably will as soon as his books go on sale or if I find them cheap. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section if you have read the book. I do highly recommend it. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and thanks for watching.